get into your coding, let's set the scene for some of the people here who may not know your background. I think many people in this audience today would look at someone as beautiful as you and think, boy oh boy, school must have been an absolute dream, you must have been so popular. But that wasn't the case. Can you tell us why?
I was a late bloomer. It took me a while to evolve into the model I eventually became. I had the huge glasses. I was very kind of awkward and gawky and tall and thin, and I didn't have any friends in high school or before that. It took going to college to kind of start growing into myself.
So you apply for some modelling work. What happened?
Well, I went to every agency in New York. At the time, I was about 21. I graduated from college. When I was 19, before then, I had gone to modeling agencies in New York, and they told me that I was too old, even at 19, because they liked younger girls in order to help them build their portfolio sooner. So I graduated from college. At first, I was honest about my age. I went around to every agency and was rejected. Then I started lying, saying that I was 18.
Of course.
And still, I was rejected. I think many agencies, I don't know if it's still the case, but they tend to limit the number of black models on their board. I remember once I met with an agency in Berlin, and they said they already had a black model on their board, so they didn't need me at the time. And that was common in all countries that I've worked in, including the US. Eventually, though, I put some modeling pictures online, and my first agency, which wasn't a huge agency, they found my pictures, and they had an acting department as well. So I figured, okay, perfect. I can keep pursuing my dream of acting, have a better agent with that, and do modeling as well to make some money on the side. And lo and behold, I ended up having my modeling career take off before the acting.
Coding, what's your earliest memory of having even the vaguest interest in coding, Lyndsey?
So when I was 12, I received my T89 graphing calculator, and it came with a book of documentation. And I knew that kids would play games on it, so I decided to look through the documentation, and I realized that I could create games on my own. So I started doing a little bit of that, but I never thought of it as computer programming at the time. Then flash forward to college. Like you said, I knew that I wanted to do theater. I also knew that Amherst College had an open curriculum and that I'd have time for a second major. So I tried econ at first, and then physics, and then eventually I wandered into computer science course, and I fell so in love with it. I think a lot of people don't even try to understand computer science, because I think that if a lot of people just made that effort to look into what programming was, I think a lot of people would be interested. Maybe I'm biased here, but I think it's fun. I think that you can take whatever interests you have and make them better through technology and through manipulating that technology. So I think it's something that everyone could get interested in and should become more interested in, because this is where society is going. This coding technology, it's a new form of literacy. And as the society moves more and more towards incorporating technology into everything, I think that it's important that people look into it and see, hey, this could just make the things that I do even better if I know how to manipulate this technology in this way. The nice thing about software engineering is that there's no barrier to entry. I needed a computer, and computers are expensive, so that's one big thing you need. Or you could go to the library too, because you could borrow a computer, there are options there. But as soon as I had my computer and an Apple developer account, I had a direct line to the world with putting my products out there.
As a general rule, I think it's fair to say that women, we're not that great at talking ourselves up, talking up our achievements. I think a lot of people in the room would agree, we almost, on occasion, undersell ourselves. Have you got any advice for the women in the room, and the men? Maybe there's a few that aren't that good at bragging about themselves either, about, can a bit of bragging be good?
Well, this came up yesterday, this is why you're asking this question. I didn't, for example, when I listed my credentials to these trolls, I didn't think that I was bragging. I was just stating, this is what I've done, take it or leave it. But if it is bragging, if it's between bragging and going broke, I would always choose bragging.
There you go.
So, yeah, I've had to, if I have to list my credentials, then I will if it means that it could get me the job.
Can you talk to us about some of the similarities between coding and modeling and acting?
Yeah, when it comes to coding, I use a lot of my creativity in trying to figure out the solutions to problems, but also I think a lot of my clients like me because I do a lot of product development on top of the actual coding. So I come up with suggestions. I think, okay, how could someone misuse this, for example? What would I like to use this app for that's not there? And even when it comes to design and the look of things and the animations, it's fun to use that artistic side of me to make things work a certain way in code. But also, I'm approached all the time about projects that have to do with my interest in acting. There are a couple apps right now I'm considering doing some work for. And they especially like that I have the different perspective that other developers they've approached don't have.
You say there's not enough female coders. How do we as a society inspire young women to do code and pursue careers in computer programming and computer science? Because it's still often not seen as being that cool and a bit nerdy, as you said. So how do we inspire people on top of the work that the wonderful people obviously in this community do out there?
Well, I know from my life that it's such a great job. And I think there need to be more examples of how it could be a great job that people can see, how they can incorporate it into their lives in a way that's fun and financially great and flexible.
What's life taught you so far about the need to take chances that maybe at first glance might not be taking exactly the path you planned for yourself? That's been a bit of a theme today. Can you elaborate on that?
I think I've maybe always been a little stubborn in the sense where I haven't accepted doing things that I've always known that there are certain things that I like doing and that I'm going to do them, I'm going to figure out how to do them. And a lot of times it won't end up exactly how I thought it would, but there are ways to figure out a path that kind of hits the points along it that I've wanted to hit.